This is Homeschool 101, a collaboration between ABS Television and the Ministry of Education. Stay attentive and attempt all activities. And now, today's lesson.
Good afternoon, viewing audience. Welcome once again to our Homeschool 101. My name is Miss Labriska Walker, coming from the St. Novel Riches Academy, and today's lesson will be government. Once again, I want to appeal before I begin to especially our students to remember to follow the guidelines of the health and safety rules that was given out by the government to ensure that you are COVID-free, and that means if you're COVID-free, you'll be able to take all of your exams. Okay, let us begin. As I said earlier, our topic will be on government, institution of government. We're going to begin today with the definition of government. And of course, I know that most of you would have your little notes ready. And the standard definition we're going to be using today is government is a body of individuals with the power and authority to control and direct the affairs of a society. Once again, government is a body of individuals with the power and authority to control and direct the affairs of a society. I know most of us would already have our little notes at home, so you can follow up to make it more interactive and more interesting for you. Okay, as we continue, we're going to be watching a little video, and after viewing the videos, we're going to be looking at 3 different functions of the government.
The functions of government. In a democratic society, people choose to live under a government because they believe the functions of government will improve their lives. Consenting to live under a government means giving up some degree of freedom, but citizens' lives are improved by what government offers them. Abraham Lincoln said it in a much fancier way. The legitimate object of government is to do for a community of people whatever they need to have done, but cannot do it all, or cannot so well do for themselves in their separate and individual capacities. With that in mind, let's examine 4 main functions of government. First, government keeps order. This means passing laws to keep people safe, having a police force to deter and investigate crimes, and managing courts to administer justice. Second, government manages foreign relations. This means making international agreements, handling diplomatic situations to reduce conflicts with other countries, and having a military force to provide security. Third, government provides services. This includes schools, libraries, fire departments, parks, roads, bridges, garbage collection, recycling programs, water and sewage systems, food inspections, building inspections, mail service, and many others. In addition, government serves people in need with programs like Social Security, Medicare and Medicaid, housing assistance, and food stamps. Fourth, government creates public policies to avoid or manage problems. Examples of this function include environmental laws to protect resources and reduce pollution, economic policies to prevent a recession, and zoning regulations to prevent a factory from moving into a housing neighborhood. Essentially, government creates a direction for society to deal with the reality that there are many issues in which the actions of an individual can cause massive problems that are too large for others to overcome. For example, Carla and all of her neighbors can be as environmentally responsible as possible to maintain clean air for their kids, but pollution from Henry's factory will still ruin the air for everyone. Therefore, the government will create a public policy that protects people's interest in having clean air. Overall, government performs numerous functions in order to improve the quality of life for citizens.
You're watching Homeschool 101.
Okay, students, I hope that video provided you much of what you have learned already from your teachers. So I hope that gave you much reinforcement that is needed at this time, the function of government. Now, after watching this video, I'm going to reinforce some of what you may have gathered from the video and what you have gathered from your schools to ensure that you understand the function of the government. Now, let's look at what we have here. Function of government: raise revenue through direct and indirect taxation. Okay, so one of the responsibilities of our government and government in general, they are supposed to raise the revenue or monies through direct and indirect taxation. They also should provide social services such as welfare, education, and health services for the citizens. They're also responsible for providing public utilities such as water, electricity, and so forth. They also manages the finances of the country. Another function of the government is to maintain law and order. They also provide a creation of employment opportunity for its citizens. Okay? They also maintain international relationships with other countries and so forth. They defend the nation. They provide services that will defend our nation. They provide infrastructural development, examples, proper roads. They build bridges where needed, airports, and proper harbors. They also, to maintain stability in our society by settling conflicts, interests of citizens and group. And I know that most of you will already, they are self-explanatory. You know where the government raise revenue from. They raise revenue when we have ship coming into our harbors, they have to pay a fee. So that is one way that we raise revenue. Also, we have small businesses and they have business in general. They have to pay a fee from time to inland revenue and so forth. This is how our country builds its revenue. So most of it will be self-explanatory. I hope nothing that was unclear. Everything it should be clear for you. Okay, let us continue. Now let us go into the branches of government. We have 3 branches of government. We have the executive branch, we have the legislative branch, and we also have the judicial branch. Okay, structure of government, the branches, arms of government. The executive branch, of course, students, this is where the policies are set. Example, within the cabinet, the ministries of government. And of course, we know all different ministries, such as the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Information, where we are right now, disseminating this information for you. Okay, we also have the legislative branch. This is the branch who makes and repeals laws, example, Parliament, and within the Senate. Okay, and within the judiciary, it can be a little tongue twister, but it's okay. We know what we're talking about. The judiciary branch, this enforces and interprets the law, example, to the court, prisons, and the police. Students, as I said earlier, this is a reinforcement. I hope nothing is new. I hope that you're following, and I hope that everything is clear and that you can understand so you can go and master your social studies exam. And remember, your exam is primarily of multiple choice. Don't take it for granted, so please try to follow and understand what is happening here. Let us continue our lesson today, the executive arm of government. Who is in the executive? Let us learn a little more, or let us reinforce who is in the executive branch. The cabinet. And of course, we know who is in the cabinet. The Prime Minister, of course, and our Prime Minister, of course, is Mr. Honorable Gaston Brown, and the different ministers with their different portfolios. The function of the executive, though, is to running the day-to-day activities of the country through the different ministries. Okay, they discuss the drafted laws that they will come up with. They also have to make decision on our budget, how the money is going to be spent, what amount is going where, and what amount is going where. They also have to make decision about the internal affairs of our country, such as what is happening now. The reason why we're here doing this 101, there's a special situation that is happening now. Of course, we all know what is happening, the COVID virus. And that is why they have to make special decisions. How do we manage this COVID virus amongst our citizens? Do we let everybody go out, not wearing masks? What decision do we make internally in order to keep our citizens safe? So they have to make these type of decisions for the welfare of our citizens. Also, they have to maintain the security and defense. And of course, when we speak about security, think about the police officers, the defense force officers as well. They are the ones that are in charge of keeping our countries safe. Okay? Again, the executive branch, the cabinet, the minister and his ministers with their different portfolios. Okay, let's move on, students. All right, the legislative arm of government. In that legislative department, we have the House of Representatives, the lower house, who are elected members of government, and the opposition. We also have the Senate and the upper house, nominated members as well. Okay, so those consist in the legislative department. Now, the function of the legislative department is to introduce new laws. All right, introduce new laws to the citizen. They also are responsible to amend and or alter existing laws. So from time to time, laws are not written in stones. They have to alter them depending on the situation that is before them or before the citizens that we are facing. They also to approve the annual appropriation bill in the budget. Of course, they have to manage the monies, as I said before, how much money goes there, how much money go over there, and such like that. They also to discuss matters of urgency, public concerns. Again, as I referred to the COVID virus, that is a matter of urgent concern. So these are the matters that comes up that are urgent, and they have to address them immediately so everything can be put in place. Okay, they also to ratify internal treaties. Okay, so students, once again, the legislative arm of government consists of the upper and the lower house, and these are the function of the legislative arm.
You're watching Homeschool 101.
Okay, this is a picture, students, of our parliament. And of course, if you know the Speaker of the House would sit just a little below where the flag is. And if he's sitting here where the flag is, of course, on his right you have the government, ruling government, and on his left you would have the opposition. Okay, so I hope this picture is clear to you. Again, you will have the Speaker of the House sitting right there, and to his right you'll have the government, and to his left you'll have the opposition. Okay. All right. Now, students, this is the judiciary arm, and they are responsible for magistrate court. And within the magistrate court, they'll be looking at things like inquest into suspicious death, if you die suspiciously, minor offenses, issuing of warrants, preliminary inquiries, and petty offenses. Okay, so these come under the arm of the magistrate court. Now, onto the high court. They deal with more serious things like the criminal laws, such as rape, murder, and other major felonies. And these are the felonies that you can be arrested for. So we call them arrestable. Okay. Now, the civil court deals with things like divorce and wills and bankruptcy. The difference between the civil court, students, and the high court deals with the criminal laws. The criminal matters, sorry. And the civil court deal with the civil issues. Now, you cannot be arrested for the civil issues, because if I am married and for some reason I am not happy, let's use that, I'm not happy in my marriage, I have the right to divorce my husband. I cannot be arrested for that. If I have several children and I have, some assets and so forth, like land and house, whatever asset that I have, I can divide them amongst my children however I choose to. Whether they think I am unfair or not, I cannot be arrested for it. So that is the difference between the criminal matters and the civil matters. You can be arrested for the civil matters, however, you cannot be arrested for the civil issues. Okay, the Court of Appeal, this is where the persons can have an opportunity to retry the cases. And in the civil appeal, you can either go to the CCJ or the Caribbean Court of Justice or the Privy Council. Reason why you have an option, because some countries have already signed on to the CCCJ, such like Trinidad and Tobago and so on. But in Antigua, let me use Antigua as an example, we have not. So it's either the Caribbean Court of Justice or the Privy Council, and the Privy Council is your last option. Okay? Now, the function of the judiciary arm is to interpret law, and to enforce law by the administration of justice. Okay, so students, once again, take a good look at the judiciary arm. Okay, so now we're going to move on to some questions that is very important. These are some of the questions that might as well come on your exam. Carl Regiment was charged for manslaughter. The verdict would be decided by A or an A, magistrate, B, attorney at law, C, judge, or D, jury. Take a second to look over your answer, and then we go to the answer. Of course, if you say D, jury, you are correct. Jury, you are correct. Okay, let's move on. All right, second question. Which of the following is a part of the executive branch in Antigua and Barbuda? Which of the following is a part of the executive branch in Antigua and Barbuda? A, Senate, B, High Court, C, Cabinet, or D, the Royal Police Force? And I know we have very bright children. So now, of course, I know they would say, oh, it's C, Cabinet, because this is just a reinforcement lesson. So yes, C, Cabinet is the correct. Cabinet is part of the executive branch. Remember, we spoke about that earlier in our lesson. Let's move on. Question 3. Sittings in the lower court Sittings in the lower court are presided over by a or an A, judge, B, magistrate and jury, C, magistrate, or D, appeal court judge. Of course, C is the correct answer, magistrate. Students, you're doing very well. I want you to keep up with me. We're soon finished. And I know that you're going to do very well on your social studies exam, because I'm very impressed. Now let's move on to our fourth question. Which of the following is not a function of the executive? Which of the following is not a function of the executive? A, deciding on the budget of the country. B, making laws. C, day-to-day administration of the country. Or D, making policy statement for government. You're correct. B, making laws. Making laws is not part of the executive branch. Of course, you know, making laws is part of the legislative branch. Okay? So again, you're correct. Going very well. Let's move on. Labor problems are dealt with in the labor problems. When you think about labor, you think about work. Okay? So labor problems are dealt with in the A, industrial court, B, magistrates court, C, appeals court, or D, privy council. Ah, very well. Did you say privy council? Could never be privy council. And you know why it could not be privy council. Oh, I heard somebody say industrial court. Very well. Industrial code. Okay, industrial codes is the code that deals with anything that deals with work relations. Okay. Students, this is a system, developmental system of government for the English-speaking Caribbean, which starts with the Crown Colony government, where basically the countries were controlled exclusively by Great Britain. Okay? Then they moved on to representative government, where Britain just basically asked them to be better represented because they now want to be more part of the decision making. All right, the associated statehood, they are better represented here, and but they're still attached somewhat to Great Britain, and you have the example of the BVI, countries like Tortola, Montserrat, and Anguilla. Okay, then of course independence speaks for itself, or you should have an idea what independence means, where they're basically more on their own, they're making a better decision for themselves. Countries wanted more autonomy, they wanted to be in charge basically of their own affairs and stuff like that. And in this system, you know, you have the prime minister in this system. So you can use Antigua as an example, because we're basically here. Then you have the Republic. Of course, these people cut all ties with the mother country. They represent themselves exclusively, and they are represented by a president. Example, the United States of America. Again, students, the Caribbean system is governed by two major systems: constitutional monarchy and the republics. Okay, under the constitutional monarchy, we have countries that are independent, and well, on both sides, they're both independent countries. However, within the monarchy, the countries remain in association with Britain, whilst the republics, they have already severed their ties with Britain. Within the monarchy, the queen still represents their state. On the other side, they are represented by a president. The monarchy has a prime minister and a governor general. Over here does not have that. They are represented solely by the president. And of course, most of them are the English-speaking country, whilst you have only the republics in the Caribbean. You have the Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana. Okay, let's move on. All right, another question, students. The government under the Associated State Agreement included a cabinet and a chief minister, B, prime minister, C, president, or D, premier. Which is the correct answer, students? I hear someone saying premier. Is it correct? It is correct, premier. Within the associated state, the premier is the head of that state. Okay, so let's move on. Students, a country which has a president as the head of state is known as A, or an proletariat, A, B, oligarchy, C, monarchy, or D, republic. Which of the answers is correct? D, republic. You are correct. Let's move on. So students, as we come to the close of our revision lesson today on government, I want you to take the opportunity to do some more in reinforcement by looking up these terms. Number 1, constitutional monarchy. 2, constitution. 3, Westminster model of government. 4, first past the post system. 5, proportional representation. 6, constituency. 7, ballot. 8, universal adult suffrage. And 9, unicameral and bicameral legislature. I want you to take the opportunity to do some revision on these because they might as well come on your exam. Once again, continue to follow the safety and guideline rules so you can remain COVID-free. It was a pleasure for me today to revise it to government, and I hope that you are very successful on your social studies exam. Thank you very much and have a pleasant day.
You've been watching Homeschool 101, a partnership between ABS Television and the Ministry of Education. Thank you for viewing this lesson. Join us again next time.